A last gasp of hope. After the assassination of his father and the fall of his kingdom beneath a planetary civil war, Mon Cala Prince Lee Char has gone into hiding with Padawan Ahsoka Tano as his only protector. With his armies captured and friends imprisoned, the situation seems hopeless for the prince. Count Dooku commands his sinister agent Rift Hampson to use any means necessary to bring Prince Lee Char out of hiding, for he knows that hope does remain as long as the prince is alive.
Greetings once again, Bucketheads. Mavar Tigar. Welcome to the 135th Rift Hampson Exploding Real Good episode of Mandovision. Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small, independent Star Wars podcast. Remember that the best way to find us is, of course, on social media. We are at Mando_Vision on Twitter and Instagram. You can email the show mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Please be sure you're liking, subscribing, following, and sharing the show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. How is everyone doing? Happy Star Wars Clone Wars Rewatch Mondays. We're back again. I know it still feels weird to me that we're going with a slightly slower pace than we've done in the past. But it's been nice to have a little bit of breathing room, at least for me. So I don't feel as manic, as rushed as I am when I'm trying to get multiple shows out in a week. So again, I think we're going to step up the pace at some point down the road. I still got some life things going on, and the extra time is appreciated and being used well. so yeah, I know we're only doing the one a week now, but it's fine. We're doing okay. Things are going well. I hope you're enjoying it. Maybe it's giving you a chance to check out some other Star Wars podcasts, and that's always good too. So again, we're a big community here. And we're all doing fun things, so more time to check out more Star Wars shows. That's not a bad thing, right? As long as you keep coming back to Mandovision, because this is where you're having the most fun. At least that's what I want to believe. Yeah, so we're here to close out the opening three episodes, the Mon Calamari arc of Season 4, that opens Season 4. And, we've sort of talked about it in the first two episodes of the show, how this is very focused on Lee Char becoming the king of Mon Cala, of Mon Cala, right? And it's exciting. It's a good arc. It's a good story. It's very interesting to see how the Mon Cala people, the Quarrens, get a little chance to experience the very strange way that their political system works. But it is sort of interesting in that our characters, our beloved Star Wars characters, are sort of pushed to the side. I mean, they're integral to the story, no doubt about it, but they're sort of tertiary, right? They're sort of off to the side. They're sort of secondary in a lot of senses because it is very focused on Lee Char becoming an effective ruler of his people, and sort of like, again, like we haven't talked about it at the moment, but our Jedi Fortune Cookie very much factors into Lee Char's journey, right? Like, just because you get named a king doesn't mean you're the king. This is Lee Char's journey. This is how he earns the respect of his people, and how they are now become excited for him to be the king. Like he's earned that responsibility by his actions in these three episodes, and in this episode in particular. So yeah, it's been a really interesting study of Mon Calamari and the Quarren people. And again, it's another example of the Separatists, interfering here in such a big bad way. But with the species that we're much more familiar with, it's very, very interesting. But yeah, I think if I were to critique it harshly in one manner, it's that, like Anakin and Padme and everybody else they're just kind of there. They're doing important things. They're integral to the story in a sense. But this could have been something that happened without their involvement. Now, I do suppose Ahsoka's sort of morale boosting on Lee Char is needed for him to kind of find his way. But yeah, I don't know. Just like I said, just an observation that our characters are sort of like over here, and that's okay. It worked out pretty nicely, and but I guess this is a long-winded way of saying, like, I guess I thought like it would be a bit more dynamic for opening the season, but again, still solid episodes. I don't begrudge anything that happens in them. Maybe we all sort of had expectations for the start of season 4 for being something kind of wild and crazy, but no, good stuff. And we're gonna talk about the insane ending of the show because we're talking about a war. It's Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and we are now focused on a planet that's engaged in a civil war. And when the forces kind of come together and rally at the end to fight off the separatists, the violence in this episode gets crazy. In the last 2 to 3 minutes of the show, a crazy amount of violence, and we will definitely be talking about that as we dive into the episode itself. One other thing I did want to talk about very, very well, I'll try to keep it brief, I think we're all seeing the reviews, we're all seeing pictures and news articles cropping up that yes, it's that time. We can go have our immersive Star Wars experience on the Halcyon Cruiser Starliner Hotel experience. And listen, I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to ask you if I can be an honorary member of your family so that I can go and do this with you, because it sounds like a lot of fun, but it also sounds insanely expensive. So if you have the means, I want to hear about your experience checking this thing out and having this immersive sort of Star Wars LARPing experience, if you will. I'm very, very intrigued by it. I'm very, very interested in it. I have probably the usual amount of concerns about it in a sense, but highly intrigued. So if you're going, tag me on photos and stuff. At the very least, I would really like to see them because I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. My primary concern, I'll tell you, my primary concern, aside from the costs, is that I'm worried that the Star Wars experience actually wouldn't be as immersive as I want it to be, because I'm going to be there surrounded by a bunch of other people, and they're probably the kind of people who maybe have their phones out too much, and kind of like that sort of shatters the experience if everyone around you is just taking pictures of everything, and it's like that's not great. Maybe that's me though. Do you all have other concerns about the Halcyon and checking that thing out and going on board? Are you 1,000% for it? Are you dead set against it? I'm very, very curious. Again, the cost is definitely a big deal. I think it's something like $4,800 for 2, and then you can, if you're going to bring like your family of 4, I think it's like close to $6,000. But wild Star Wars fun if you can swing it. So let me know if you're all going to check it out. I still haven't even made it to Star Wars Land at Disney World yet. I still haven't been able to swing that particular lightsaber because just bad timing. Bad timing. Ever since 2020 and lockdown happened, because that was when I was supposed to go, and I have not been able to get things back on track to get up there because other life things have sort of taken priority and precedent. So I will probably be the last person who makes it to Star Wars Land and gets to go see the Black Spire and the Millennium Falcon and go on Rise of the Resistance and all the rides and everything like that, and gets to fly the Millennium Falcon. I will probably be one of the last people to do these things. I am still very excited to go, but the cruel reality of the world has bogged me down and made it so that I don't that's gonna be a not inexpensive trip either, because I know me, I'm gonna want to buy a lightsaber, and that's hundreds of dollars, and it's already hundreds of dollars to get into Disneyland. So we will get there, and when I do, there will be a full report. I will recap the entire experience for everybody, because it's insanely high on my to-do list. but yeah, we'll have to see when we can make it happen. Again, I have a few feelers out there to try and lure some of the people who I had initially persuaded to go with me in 2020. But again, there's a lot of people coming from other places to make this work. So a lot of moving parts, if you will. All right, so enough about that. What else we got to talk about real quick? By now, you've all heard the news too. That John Williams is coming back to do the score, the main Obi-Wan Kenobi theme for the series, which is very, very exciting news because John Williams is the best. He's the master, and we need more John Williams in our life. And the man just turned 90 very, very recently. So just awesome that he still wants to be involved in all these things. And on a personal note, and for many people of my generation, John Williams scored our childhoods, right? Between Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Superman and, everything. I mean, he did everything. Every sort of like triumphant musical score that from the cinema, that man did. And it's awesome. Jaws, another great one, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that one. So yeah, exciting that he'll be back for that. Otherwise, nothing else going on right now. Now, again, since these episodes are rolling out a little bit slowly, if news breaks, in the time before you hear this, and you're like, wait, why isn't he talking about so-and-so? Because that'd probably be a Bantha Tracks where I do that. So if it sounds like I'm missing something, it's probably in a Bantha Tracks that I'll release later on, or before this episode even comes out. We'll just have to see what happens in the world. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our review, our recap, if you will, of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Season 4, Episode 3. This is Prisoners. The original air date was September 23rd, 2011. Our plot this week. Listen, these plot descriptions are pretty serious, all right? Only Prince Lichar and Padawan Ahsoka Tano have escaped capture and must find a way to free their comrades, as well as the entire planet, from the impending rule of Riff Tamsin. As we talked about before, Riff and the Separatists have very different ideas of negotiations and making deals with the Quarren. And the Quarren learned that the hard way in this episode, so we knew that was coming. This week's episode is directed by Danny Keller, once again written by Jose Molina. And our principal cast this week is Gary Anthony Williams as Riff Tamsin, Matt Lanter as Anakin Skywalker, Adam MacArthur as Prince Lichar, Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka Tano, Phil Lamar as Kit Fisto and Brother Lemke, Corey Burton is Count Dooku and Nasser Ray, Art Butler is Captain Akbar, Ahmad Best is Jar Jar Binks, Matthew Wood is the Aqua Droids, Anna Greaves is Senator Mina Tills, Catherine Tabor is Padme Amidala, James Arnold Taylor is Prisoner Number 1. Didn't have a lot of work to do this week. D. Bradley Baker is Monk, and Monk the clone, don't worry. He's still doing his thing. And Tom Kane is our narrator. That's another interesting thing in this episode. We don't spend too much time with the clones. Like, again, we're focused on the Quarren, the Mon Calamari, and Prince Lichar. But yeah, the use of the clones is mostly in a visual sense. We see they are more seen than heard from in these 3 episodes. But Monk does get a little bit of speaking lines in this one, so that's exciting for them. Our Jedi fortune cookie, almost read the wrong one. Crowns are inherited, kingdoms are earned. It's like we talked about, and that's, we're talking about Lichar's journey at this point, right? We're seeing the maturing of a prince into the ruler of a kingdom, right? And the people supporting that. Again, it's not just a birthright. It has to be earned. The people aren't going to support you if they don't respect you. And he's fighting for the people. He's defending the people. He's liberating the people himself. He's involved. He's not just dictating to the soldiers while he stands behind a wall somewhere, safe from the action. Now it's Lichar getting in there, getting involved, and making taking big swings in this episode. And we're gonna get into all of that. All right. So you know what time it is. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
Miss, I don't like this.
Oh, just a pinchy cracker.
Tamsin, leave them alone.
Do not worry, Jedi. There's plenty of suffering to go around.
He is very dangerous.
Yes, there we go. Kit Fisto opening the episode. Well, not really opening it, but very early in the episode, giving us a great throwback line. That is a clear callback to Sala in Raiders of the Lost Ark, when he says, "Asps, very dangerous." And Phil Lamar does a great job of sort of recreating that with his Kit Fisto voice as the giant electrified eels are presented to our Jedis in an effort to disclose the location of Lee Char, as Rift Hampson is desperate to have Lee Char in his custody so he can then kill him, and very, very publicly. And yeah, that's sort of what this episode's about, right? So the Anakin and Kit, Jar Jar, Padme, all being held prisoner, being so basically tortured and interrogated by Rift Hampson and his separatist people. This episode we also get to see more Karkadons in this episode than we have in prior episodes. I think it's been Riff kind of alone. In this one, we see he has like a cadre of Karkadon guards with him. We see them swimming around later on. They factor more into later in the episode with when they go to execute Lee Char. But again, an interesting species to see on this show, which will then factor into another callback, reference, homage, if you will, when we get to the climactic confrontation between Lee Char and Rift Hampson. We'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah, we're starting this off, and Rift Hampson desperate to find Lee Char, who is now hiding out with Ahsoka Tano.
If my father were here, he could unite with No Sarai and the Quarren. The Quarren and Mon Cala have always had a difficult relationship, but it was respectful until Rift Hampson arrived. Once that Karkadon got inside No Sarai's head, the alliance between the Mon Cala and the Quarren fell apart. I know what I must do. The Mon Cala and Quarren people must be reunited.
So Lee Char's forming a bit of a plan, and part of that's going to hinge on finding Captain Akbar, which will then lead to Ahsoka and Lee Char infiltrating one of the prison camps here so they can find Captain Akbar and begin to sort of rally the people and let them know there'll be a moment, and when that moment comes, it's time to act, and we all have to act in unison to drive this threat from our planet. And it's again, it's sort of a not an uncommon thread we've seen. You know, there's definitely echoes in this 3-episode arc of things that we saw in the Phantom Menace with Naboo. So yeah, there's some familiarity there. But again, I'm maybe I'm just a sucker because I like the whole undersea aspect of all of this. That I really, really enjoy it. And speaking of the undersea aspect of it, something that we haven't talked about in our previous episodes is, again, we don't make a big thing about technology in Star Wars and how it all works because, you know, it's Star Wars and we're just here for the fun of it. We're not here to break down it. It's breaking the rules of physics. You know, we don't do that here. And that's not what Star Wars is here for. If you want to play by those kind of rules, like that's what you got Star Trek and a lot of other hard sci-fi for. Star Wars is his own independent kind of beast, right? But you can't help but observe Ahsoka Tano with her underwater garb on, and like she has that face shield that like hugs right into her face, and because apparently the domes with her montrails, you can't put a dome on her big enough with those montrails that she has. But that faceplate that she has is not connected to anything. So you're like, how is she getting oxygen? I don't know. Do you guys have an answer for that? Is there a solution that I'm just overlooking? Just a curious observation that I've made. Let's check in on your friend, your boy, Rift Hampson.
I have interrogated the Jedi, my lord, but they will not give up the whereabouts of the prince. The Jedi's resistance to pain is impressive.
Press the interrogation, Tamson. We cannot allow the prince to survive. The royal bloodline must be broken.
Count Dooku, is this necessary? The battle is won. The prince has no army to rally. Now is the time for the Quarren to take the lead and think of rebuilding.
Rebuild? While this battle has been won, there is still a war going on, Senator Rye. A war in which you pledged your allegiance to the Separatist cause.
Of course, Count. We owe you everything.
Do not soon forget it. Tamson, have your soldiers arrived?
Soldiers?
Yes, Count. We now have the city under our control.
Good. Continue as planned.
So there you have it. More Karkadons arrive on the scene. Riff Tamsin seems to be the one in control here, and the Quarren people are not getting what they initially bargained for with Count Dooku. Surprise, surprise, betrayal from the Count, as everything is to benefit and gain him this advantages in the war. Now he has his own people controlling Mon Cala, not the Quarren that he negotiated this originally negotiated this deal with. So yeah, the negotiating with Count Dooku, not a great thing. You think his reputation, would sort of be sullied at this point because he breaks more deals than he makes, right? So, the Quarrens made their bed, now they got to lay in it. But this is where we begin to see the cracks that Nasare has made a mistake, and he's going to be thinking heavily on just what this means and how to get out of this situation, how to get Mon Cala back in the hands of the Quarrens and not Riff Tamsin and his Karkadon soldiers who are now controlling the city. So next up is when Lee Char and Ahsoka make their way into the internment camp to make contact with Captain Akbar, and they have a moment with other citizens of Mon Cala in trying to, we see Lee Char try to be the leader, try to keep hope alive for these people who see their lives basically being over at this camp, right? Like what are we to do? How are we supposed to go on? And Lee Char is telling them, stay strong, hold on to what courage you still have, because when the time comes, we're going to need it. And it's a nice little moment for Lee Char before he's hurried away so they can go make contact with Captain Akbar to formulate more of the plan. Meanwhile, Riff Tamsin now presses the interrogation as instructed by Count Dooku, which this leads to a very interesting moment. I think I've alluded to. I sort of like the way that Tamsin, that sort of roar you get from Riff Tamsin before he launches into attack with his mouth, his giant shark mouth. And so he uses that giant shark mouth to clench his teeth onto the helmet, if you will, of Padme. And he just puts just enough force for one of his teeth to crack the glass or the plastic, transparent steel, whatever the heck it is, of her dome, of her helmet. So a little bit of water begins to leak in. So now it puts the pressure on the Jedi to divulge where Prince Lee Char is, but of course they don't know. So there's nothing to say. So it's they're really just killing Padme for information that the Jedi don't have. But again, this is what Tamsin's going to do. And this leads to the discovery of an unknown Gungan power from Jar Jar Binks with his magic loogie that can seal the crack in her helmet and help stave off the drowning from the water leaking into it. These magic loogies that the Gungans have, I didn't know about that. That was pretty neat. Came in handy for sure. But yeah, it's a good sequence. There's a fun part too, right before the magic loogie, where Kit and Anakin are attempting to use the Force to create a bubble around Padme and push the water back. But again, the eels aren't going to let them do that, so they attack, they distract, and the concentration of the Jedi is broken. So that's when the magic loogie comes into play, and it works out pretty nicely for Padme, who now has spit on her helmet for basically the rest of the episode. And again, it's a magic loogie, but it has incredible adhesive powers because it does not wash away in the water. Like Jar Jar's able to spit through the water to the helmet. Again, I don't question the physics in Star Wars. I mean, things move through the ocean, right? Why not? Why not? That's all I'm saying. Why not? So let's go ahead and check in with Lee Char as he meets with Captain Akbar. This is a good sequence. I enjoyed this quite a bit.
Prince, I knew you would survive the battle.
Captain, I need your help. I have a plan. I know how we can win this fight.
But the battle is over, young prince. And it appears that we have lost.
No. In truth, we now outnumber our enemy. We can overwhelm them.
But we are prisoners. If we revolted, thousands would die.
Not if the Quarren struck first and aided in our attack.
Prince, how can you say this? The Quarren betrayed us. They assassinated your father.
No, Captain. Riff Tamsin murdered my father. Of that, I am sure.
The Quarren are being used. I've seen it happen before. Count Dooku has deceived them.
So as Akbar and Lichar are discussing, a security droid in the camp witnesses and discovers that Lichar is there. That's big information. So that droid is gonna go report back. Meanwhile, we get to hear a little bit more of Lichar's plan to convince Akbar that he knows what he's doing.
We'll find No Sarai. He was my father's friend. I know he will listen.
How can you be certain of this?
I can't. But it's time for me to lead. And this, I feel, is my only course of action.
I will ready our people, Prince.
But Captain, you're injured.
I'll be ready to fight. With our future king.
I'll marshal the remaining clones and Gungans. What will your signal be?
When a Quarren attacks our enemy, that will be your sign.
Alright, there we go. So now the droids are rallying to capture Lichar and take him to Rift Tamsin. And we're going to get to that confrontation because that's a pretty good one too. And before the big final battle begins where again, spoiler alerts, but the Quarren will come to the aid of the Mon Cala and the Gungans and the clones, and everybody will come together to fight off the Separatist forces and drive them from Mon Cala. Spoiler alert, it does happen. But yeah, let's go ahead and check out that conversation next. Actually, before we get to that conversation, we do have to have the moment where Rift Tamsin's made aware of Lichar being captured, and a very important discussion or revelation that he has with Nasare moving forward, and again, which will change the Quarren's perceptions of how this deal has been negotiated. So let's check this out as Rift Tamsin kind of reveals all to the Quarren.
We have located the prince and have him in custody. He has requested an audience with the leadership.
By all means, bring him to me. I shall meet you in the throne room.
Roger.
The throne room?
Yes. I want that little one to see me in my rightful place as ruler of this world.
Ruler? That was not our arrangement with Count Dooku.
No, it wasn't your arrangement. It was mine.
Wait! The prisoner! You have to save her!
No, I don't.
Tamsin!
Alright, this is when the magic Luigi comes into play as Padme's helmet is filling with water. So a shocking revelation to the Quarren that Count Dooku not dealing from the same deck of cards as the rest of them. And negotiating with bad guys in Star Wars doesn't get you very far. Lando Calrissian can tell you all about it. So, the super maniacal laugh from Rift Tamsin is just kind of cements him as like this insanely odd, comical, maniacal villain, right? Like it's maybe it's a bit much, but I really, I don't know, something about it I kind of enjoy at the same time. I'm like, yeah, why not have this crazy shark creature cackling in delight as he reveals to the Quarren that they have negotiated nothing. So craziness. And yeah, so good stuff there. And yes, in just a moment we will get to the exchange between Tamsin and Lichar, where ultimately Tamsin will sentence him to death.
Greetings, Prince. We meet again. I must admit, you were more difficult to capture than I anticipated, Prince. You have my respect as hunter to his prey.
I do not seek, nor do I want your respect. I have come to demand the freedom of my people.
Your people? You are mistaken, Prince. They are my people, and under my rule. They, like you, are nothing more than slaves.
Your rule is not recognized here, Tamsin. My people are all those who live in these seas, whether they be Mon Cala or Quarren.
Surely, you have not come here seeking the aid of No Sarai. Do you really think he would trade his position to join you?
The Quarren are already slaves, though they may not see it. No Sarai, you knew my father. Whatever differences our people had in the past, surely you must know we can work together to make Mon Cala whole. Dooku and Tamsin want only to exploit us and leave our cities broken and our resources depleted. What will then be left for the Quarren?
Well, No Sarai, would you like to join this pitiful little fish and his dead father? There, you see? What good would their help be anyway, Prince? The Quarren are more gutless than your people.
As long as I live, I shall give all people of Mon Cala hope to fight another day.
Hope. We are of the same mind, Prince. That is why I have scheduled your public execution. Take him away!
So yeah, pretty strong stuff from Riff Tamsin, but there's a little bit more at the end here. As Lee Char is being led away, he makes one more plea to Nosarai.
Nosarai, there's still time. Unite and we will defend our home.
And there you have it. One more plea that we can undo what's been done. And again, we're seeing Lee Char become an effective leader, trying to bring the people back together again like they were before his father was murdered. Now, that's one sort of aspect of this episode. Again, it's a logical leap that Lee Char makes that it was, in fact, Riff Tamsin who murders his father. But I mean, it's all gut feeling, right? Like, he has no empirical evidence, no proof of that. Luckily, we do get a confession from Riff Tamsin at the end of the episode, but which will come in convenient. But yeah, so now we're going to go ahead and get to the Jedi getting out, and we're going to get to the execution of Lee Char, which is good stuff, and the eventual the coming together of the Mon Cala and the Quarren, again with the aid of the Jedi, the Gungans, and the Clone Army, to remove the Separatists from the world, for this world. My goodness. I'm gonna see if I can't play one more clip off of the execution, because the Karkadon method of execution is something different. That is for sure. I mean, it was like 3 Karkadons charging at Lee Char, all in an effort to like bite him into a million pieces, or just eat his head and call it a day. But 3 of them, no less. And this is when the insane amount of violence really begins in this episode. But let me see if I can cue up one more good audio comment for you. Hang on. All right, so now we're in the arena. Everyone has been moved to this location, right? I think I misspoke and said the Jedi escaped. No. They're going to witness the execution of Lee Char, the person that they came there to aid and support in this transition from his father to Lee Char as the ruler of Mon Cala. So they're going to, make them watch as this prince is eviscerated by these Karkadons who are going to try and eat him. But let's so Kit, Anakin, Ahsoka, Padme, Jar Jar will all bear witness to this. Now Riff Tamsin's going to get a little theatrical, going to have a little grandiose from the Riff Master, the Riffster, if you will. Let's check it out.
For crimes against the Separatist state, I command the execution of former Prince Lee Char.
Captain, Nosarai and the Quarren are with you.
So we'll pause it right there. The Quarren are arming the Mon Cala, including Captain Akbar, who's just given back his little baton, which, if you recognize it, it's the staff that he came with. His original 1983 Return of the Jedi action figure came with like a little command staff. Turns out that thing's got some more functionality to it than we ever gave it credit for, and we get to see it on full display in this episode. And we find out, oh yeah, it's a pretty sweet little blaster, and yeah, because good things are going to happen here. Let's see how this plays out for the young prince.
Kill him!
So we see the Quarren deploy their ink sacs, confusing the Karkadons so they miss Lee Char, and they sweep in there to take Lee Char away. This is the signal, and the battle is almost upon us.
Fight, Quarren! Fight for Prince Lee Char!
And Lee Char just blows away the 3 Karkadons. All right, so the battle begins in full. As much as I'd love to let it run, because this is a great action sequence. This is really great stuff. More fun underwater, craziness, the Mon Cala, the Gungans, all the forces come together to repel the Separatist forces now. And you know, the episode is going to come to its crescendo, right? Like, again, it's really great action stuff. I can't fault any of it. I like most of it. But let's go ahead and kind of fast forward here, because we got to get to the big moment between Riff Tamson and Lee Char, where Lee Char really is going to earn his crown. He's going to liberate his people and be the hero of the Civil War here. It's good stuff. Let's check it out. Now, before I get to that final confrontation, Riff Tamson's losing his stuff towards the end of this, as things appear grim for he and his forces. So at one point, he begins pulling out these knives from his little suit that he wears, and just completely murders people, right? Just stabs them. He stabs a couple Mon Cala, a couple Corrin, 4 people in particular, all right? Stabs them, and then these knives explode. And you just see, like, exploded Mon Cala and Corrin viscera all over your screen. And you know when it's a Corrin because, like, there's this sort of, like, ink cloud of their exploded bodies in the water. Like, that's insanely violent, right? Am I crazy, or does it not matter as much because they're aliens? So, like, there's no sort of censorship on alien death and mutilations for Star Wars. It's crazy amount of violence. And then what's going to happen here between Riff and Lee Char is just as bananas crazy. Let's go ahead and check out this sequence. There might be a little bit more. It's not queued up all the way, so you'll hear some of the underwater stuff, but let's get into it.
Prince Lee Char.
Your rule was at an end before it started, Tamson.
Punchy punchies.
I killed your father without pity or mercy.
Then I'll return the favor.
All right, so I'll pause it here just to explain what we're seeing. Lee Char has taken one of Riff Tamson's exploding knives and has thrown it into the shoulder of Riff Tamson. Riff Tamson is unable to remove it. It begins beeping. We know what that means. It's going to get all explodey. And it seems like Riff has decided to take like a suicide run at Lee Char. This is our next big throwback, our next big homage to a great film in cinematic history. This is Star Wars' Jaws moment, because as Riff Tamson barrels towards Lee Char looks down the sights of his laser rifle, and the only thing missing from this sequence is Lee Char saying, "Smile, you son of a bee," because it is the end of Jaws. And Lee, let's just play it. I want you to hear the sounds. This is crazy. And then Riff Tamson is the one who goes all explodey, much like Jaws. And then you see his head floating in the water. It's awesome. It's so good. This level of violence in Star Wars I truly appreciate, because they just showed a blown up shark head float by Prince Lee Char to signal the end of this conflict and cement his time as the king of Mon Cala. And this is just really awesome. It's so cool. I couldn't believe, again, in the final like 2 minutes of this episode, the violence goes off the charts. People are exploding. They're exploding people on this show. It's awesome. Get explodey with Star Wars: The Clone Wars in this episode. Super, super rad. All right, let's go ahead and we'll close this out with the coronation of King Lee Char.
May the blessings of the water keep you. The might of your ancestors give you strength.
As representative of the Corrin people, I pledge our loyalty to you.
And as your king, I pledge my loyalty to all people of Mon Cala.
I present King Lee Char.
Long live the king! Long live King Pizza! Long live the king! Long live King Pizza!
Booyah. And there it is. The Coronation of the King. We talked about it in a prior episode, but just another reminder. You can catch up with Lichar. They do some adventures with Lichar later in the comic books in particular. There's a stretch of Darth Vader books that focus on the Empire and taking it out on Mon Cala for aiding in the Battle of Scarif. And then another set of issues with Princess Leia and our more familiar cast of the original trilogy in the Star Wars comic. Where they're going there to get aid, basically. So good stuff, and nice that they kind of call back to Lichar in those comic books, because again, you get these really three really strong episodes. Does it advance the Clone Wars as a series? Does it drive our narrative more forward? Not necessarily, but it's a good 3-issue arc. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing. That redefines our feelings on Star Wars or the Mon Cala. Like, it just kind of reinforces our feelings on the Mon Cala, which, again, is a good thing. They're one of the species that we really, really like in Star Wars. Which actually had me thinking about something the other day, and I want to present it to you all as a closing thought. Now, I am not fully caught up on the new canon as far as, like, the books go. There's several books. I'm reading the last of the Chuck Wendig Empire Aftermath stuff now, so and I know there's like at least 6 other books that I have not yet read. One species that seems to be missing from the new canon thus far to me. Now, please tell me. You just hit me up on the social media at Mando_Vision and be like, nope, they're still around. They were in XYZ, and I'll be like, okay, cool. But thus far, I have seen nary a mention of the Bothans, and the Bothans were pretty heavily involved in a lot of stuff in the old expanded universe. And I know you guys are probably sick of me talking about the old expanded universe, but the Bothans were sort of a big deal. They did steal the Death Star plans for the second Death Star. Granted, Palpatine set that all up, so the Bothans were kind of duped into this whole scenario. But again, a species that was fairly important in the last expanded universe stuff, and I've not seen much from the Bothans in anything in a long time. So that's something I'm kind of keeping my eye out for as I begin to explore the new continuity, as I finally have gotten over the hump as far as being bitter about the old expanded universe going away. I have become more engaged with the new stuff, and I will get caught up at some point. So yeah, I mean, again, just something I was noticing. It's like, wow, we haven't seen any Bothans in a really long time in Star Wars media, whether it's the comics or the books or anything. And maybe they're in the comics, but if they were, I missed it. I'll have to go back. Anyways, I give this entire arc about 7.5 buckets. Is sort of how I feel about it. Like, it's good stuff. It's enjoyable. It's really fun, and like the level of violence that this episode catapults itself to in the final act is bananas, and I'm here for it. And give me more Mon Cala. Give me more Quarren. I like that relationship. I like to know more about the struggle of these two people on this one planet. Enjoyable. Rift Hampson is a crazy villain who will not be seen from ever again because his death is pretty much permanent. Like, I don't see him rallying from that one at all, especially as his like lifeless head with his eyes all whited out just drifts down to the ocean floor. Just woof. That is a permanent death right there. All right, one more reminder to make sure that you're liking, subscribing, following, and sharing the show with all the other Mandalorians in your covert. We truly appreciate you all taking the time to do that. All your downloads, likes, and shares are so important to us, and we thank you in advance for doing that. If you have the time and the inclination, 5-star reviews are an insanely great way for us to help defeat the algorithm and get the word out, get more people listening to the show, get more bucketheads into our legion. We would love that. We're not near the 501st levels, but everyone counts. They're all numbers, and we can only go up, right? I hope we can only go up. So I want to give a special shout out to the official Mandovision Maniacs, which you can become one of over at patreon.com/Mandovision. You can join the Maniacs and gain access to the bonus content. The bonus content, newest one out right now, is a huge, epic 2+ hour recap discussion of HBO Max's Peacemaker, the show from James Gunn with John Cena and so many other amazing, talented people in it. I absolutely was delighted by the show. You will hear me make controversial statements in regards to Peacemaker versus Boba Fett. Don't judge me too harshly, though, if you listen to those, okay? I just had some thoughts. That's all I was saying. That's all I was doing. All right? So go check that out. Thanks to our current Patreon members, the current Mandovision Maniacs, the Aspen Hill Chody, the Batman Abejo, Jeff Nail, co-hosting The Ring and Ear. Check them out. Thanks to Evil Circle, the evilest of all circles, the Squid Master General, Mr. Brian Broussard, who I'm sure is loving episodes about Quarrens, right? The Squid Master General, right there. It's in the name. The New Jersey Devil, Mark Wegemer, very own Joker and Harley Quinn, Brian and Krista of Pariah Brewing Company in San Diego, California, and Baltimore, Maryland. The Beer Hop Brigadier General, Jesus Beer Hops, the Silent Assassin, he who should not be named, and Syndicate Ram, co-host of Come On. It's still good. Or is it? I'll never tell. All right, everybody, let's get out of here. We'll be back for another Star Wars: The Clone Wars Rewatch Mondays very, very soon. And in the meantime, take care of each other. Stay safe. Stay rad. Be excellent to each other. And remember, this podcast can only end one way. This is the way.